And Varga. So, in the last section, we have seen the what is the float and how we are going to make the HTML element to be floated on your web page. And we have seen a technique to clear out the float. Okay, so we have seen the problem with the float, that is a parent element collapsing, that can be avoided by using a technique called clear fix technique or overflow hidden. You can use any one of these things based on the application. And today I'm going to show you one more important layout property, that is position property, position.html. Save this, CSS. We just created a position property now. Sorry, position.html. This is some kind of confusing concept, position property, but it's very easy to understand. Just go ahead. CSS layout property. So what layout properties is going to layout or is going to position our HTML element on the web page, right? So in that I'm going to talk about the position property. Now let us take three div elements, box, three boxes I have taken, dot box. In this I just want to create width, height, border, 1 pixel solid as 000. If you want to add any color, you can do that, but for the time being, okay, anyway, I just want to add a color, background color, magenta. Okay, I just created three boxes, and on top of it, what I'm going to do, instead of box, let us make this to be child class, and I'm going to create another div property, div dot parent, div dot grandparent. That's fine. Okay, grandparent. I just have taken something like this. So I'm just creating some kind of analogy in order to make this concept to be easily understandable. Okay, so I just created some what do you call child property. I just want to add, instead of box, the child I'm going to write. Okay, and after that I'm going to add a parent element styles. I'm not going to provide any width and height. For this I just want to add a margin of 5 pixels around. Here I want to add a border class, border property. Just take this one, and grand, here also same thing, and I'm going to add margin of 5 pixels. Okay, now sorry, now if you observe, uh, the margin and border here also the same thing, and the parent element are also same. Okay, border is also there. Let me add a margin to this grandparent as well. Okay, so all these styles, what do you call child and parent and grandparent element styles are same. The code is repeating, right? Repeatedly the code is written. This is not a good idea, but anyway, let us see how it is going to reflect on my web page. That was good. Nothing happens. Might be there is no proper link. See, I got an error. Error will be file not found. What is the reason? Here we have a CSS file. This to be .css, right? Refresh the page. Now you can see that. We just created three childs. On top of it, we have a parent, which is separated with the 5 pixels margin around. And on top of the parent, we have the grandparent. Okay, again, we have 5 pixels margin. Okay, and on top of the grandparent, we have 5 pixels margin. Okay, that's fine. But I just want to refactor my code. I mean, just I want to change the code what I have written. Why? Because here these two statements are repeatedly written, right? So for this, I can create some border space. Okay, border space, a class. In that, I'm going to take this one, border space. Instead of writing all this stuff, I have taken only one class. Okay, now instead of 6 lines, I have created only 2 lines. Now, what I'm going to do, this border space class, I'm going to repeat it to every element. I can say here, I'm going to add a border space, border space, border space. Here also adding border space, border space. Okay, repeatedly I provided the border space for all these things. Of course, here I have written 5 times, but how many number of characters are there? This is not also good. I need to reduce the name. Something like a border? No. A gap? Okay, something like a gap. So, see, the number of characters increases, the file size will increases, which in turn affect the page performance. So that is why I just removed the number of characters I'm using. So this is fine. A gap class is there. Instead of 6 lines, I reduce it to 2, and I repeatedly applied those property class to all the elements like this. That's fine. Now let me apply a float for this, for the child, each child element. I'm going to apply a float property, float left, so that it will be aligned horizontally. That was nice. But unfortunately, the parent got collapsed. So um, you just use a property called in the parent. Either you can use overflow hidden, either you can use or clear fix property you can use. Got it? So this is the way. See, now the parent is appearing around these elements. Otherwise, the parent is going to be shrinked. If you don't provide this one, see, the parent is collapsing now. If you left this to be overflow hidden. Correct. So now everything is fine. Now, what I want to do, yes. Now, irrespective of these elements, I want to position the first box to the center of the page. Even though these elements are inside the parent element, I want to make this element to be absolutely position. Okay. So in order to do that, there is a property called, we have a position properties there. This property comes with 3 types of values. One is relative, fixed, and absolute. First one, let us go for the fixed property. Okay, fixed property, position fixed. So that means that particular element is going to be fixed to the screen. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I want to make this to be 1, this to be 2, this to be 3, and I'm going to add one more property. Okay, this is one kind of inheritance. Already we have discussed about this one, right? uh, Adding the class names. So all the properties of one class and second class and third class are going to be rendered on the same element. This is one kind of inheritance. Generally, we can call it as a normal inheritance. If inheritance came from parent to child and child to subchild, then it is called cascading inheritance. Okay, now refer to the page. We just allowed one, two, three, and I just mentioned. Oh, sorry, this is not fixed. The class name is POS and refer to the page. Where does 2 gone? I applied position property to 1. What about the 2? Second element. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is there are other properties along with this position property in order to adjust the element that is left, and just like a coordinate system. In our school days we have studied about some coordinate systems, right? So this is y-axis and this is x-axis. So based on the x and y values, we are going to mark a particular point, right? Similarly, left property acts like a x-axis. Okay, I'm going to make this to be 300 pixels, and left, sorry, top property. This is y-axis. This is to be 100 pixels. So let's make like this. Now refresh the page. Now one is 100 pixels from the top, 300 pixels from the left. Okay, so this is called absolute. I mean, what I can say, exact positioning. Okay, but this positioning is going to be depend on the parent element and grandparent element. Other The child element is going to depend on the parent elements. So generally, this position property will take three kinds of values. Okay. Now, if you have something like fixed, this is a keyword, right? If you have keyword as a values for any kind of property, then it is referred as a enumerated values. If you have some values like this, 5 pixels or 1 pixel, something, that is a value, just value. These are called enumerated values. Named values we referred as a enumerated. Okay, so fine. I just make this to be fixed, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a paragraph in order to, and I just want to make my website or this web page to be scrollable. So that is why I just added a paragraph, which is of very less content and very less. Okay, anyway, still I didn't get any scrollable. In order to increase, in order to get the scrollable, what I'm going to do, I just adding a font size of 100 pixels, so that each character will be 100 pixels. Now you can find a scrollable. Now observe this kind of thing. It is fixed to the screen. Got it? That is called position fixed with respect to x and y axis. Okay, so we can just fix it. And remove this. And one important thing that you need to be noted here is, uh, generally, if you don't place the position property for the elements, all the childs will align in horizontal, one after another. Okay. Yeah. Now, one important thing that you need to be noted here is, when you add a position property to this element, okay, and if you are trying to position it, this completely, that means you can think one kind of analogy here. Now, this is the parent element, right? This is the child element, sorry, grandparent element. This is the parent element. These are the childs. Okay. Just I want to make some analogy. Okay, in order to remember this. When if this child has some fixed goal, okay, so he is completely detached from the parents and grandparents. So what happens is, if this guy is completely detached means this position is going to be occupied by the other children. Okay, that is what is happening here. I can see. Yes, that's fine. I'll just go for this. POS. Refresh the page. Now I can see this position is occupied by the second element, and second element position is occupied by the third element. Why? Because it is completely detached from the parent. That means detached in the sense is completely isolated and it attached to the screen, that is fixed. Okay, that is one thing you need to remember. There is no space for this guy in his family. Why? Because he has different goal sets. Okay, and right now, what happens if I don't allow these two things? See, you need to think like this. If I provide 0 pixels of left, 0 pixels of top, this is attached to the instead of that, I can do like this. Just take this out, refresh the page. Now, what happens? What about the two? One is on top of the two. Why? Because one is fixed. It doesn't have any place inside his family, right? So that place is occupied by second element. So because of that, the second element is on top of the second element. The first element is going to be a pair. Okay, and whenever you start placing the pixels, the x and y values, 0 pixels, left 0 and top 0, then it start positioning. If you don't provide this left and top, that will make this element to be placed, or this element will reside inside the parent. Whenever you have given these values left and top, then it's completely detached and it's going to position from this corner 0.0, 0 pixels. This is 0, 0. And of course, you do find some space, right? This space is nothing but the margin what we have provided for each and every box. Okay, if you remove this, there won't be any space. See, completely attached to the corner of the browser. That is what is called position fixed. And by using this, you can position it. See what I can do. Here we do have this one. See, I'm going to increase. It's moving in horizontal manner. This one is moving. See, vertical manner. Likewise, where do we apply such kind of things? Okay, of course, a lot of things are there. Sometimes you can find some bulletin board. Okay, bulletin board applications. You do find, see, such type of boxes to be fixed to the screen. Okay, or chat window to be fixed to the screen. Sometimes you do find some chart, right? A chart window that to be fixed to the screen. Okay, and this is also position fixed. I can go for this one. Now you can see you do find a header, right? When I scroll it, the header is not moving, right? This is fixed. Position is fixed here. Okay, upload query is not moving. Correct. In such kind of things, we use the position fixed. Next, now there is other value for the position called relative. Position relative. And by the way, I just want to comment it out. Now, what it will make when I say position relative, okay, it's going to move the position. I mean, actually, generally, technically, we can say this element is moving relative to the current position. Okay, this is the current position. From this, it's going to move left and down direction. I mean, x and y directions. Okay, this is the current position. In the previous case, that is completely starts from this pixel 0, 0. But in this case, it will start where does the current position, it will start moving from the current position. That is what is called position relative. So what I can do, I'm going to add left 0 comma 0. So if I use left 0 comma 0 pixels, it's positioned to the this particular parent element. Now what I'm going to do, I just want to place something like 100 pixels left side. See, this is empty. This is empty. That means this person has an importance in his family. That is why still, even though this guy moved around the parent element, still it has some space. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I just want to move 300 pixels. I want to move this to be 100 pixels. Let's see how it's going to reflect. See, the element, the moving inside the parent element, not outside of the parent element. Of course, we did some overflow, right? Overflow hidden. If I use overflow hidden, if I don't use overflow hidden, then it will come out of that. I can see that. Okay. Because of the overflow hidden, I'm not able to see that particular element. Why? Because it's going to move inside that element only. Relative to the current position. Okay. That's fine. Always remember, relative to the current position it's moving. Okay. And that will be applied in such cases. See, here, if you want to move this particular element, okay, dynamically through CSS, after these fields, email and you want to place this one, then you can move this as a relative. Okay, all these position by using as a position property or position fixer property, something like that, and you can use relative so that you can move inside this box container, right? And I think one I'll do one thing. I will add a clear fix here. Instead of overflow, I'm going to add a clear fix. That will make some sense. Because of overflow hidden, I'm not able to see the child element outside of the parent. So what I did, I just removed the overflow hidden and I add some position clear fix property. Now no parent collapsing, but still the element is outside of this element. Now it's moving from this position. That is what is called position relative. Okay. Now what happens? Okay, that is fine. The last but not least is position absolute. Position absolute. See, position relative means it's moving with respect to the current position. Okay, position absolute in the sense, let us go for the analogy. In the first case, position fixed means the child is completely has different sets of goals. It's not going to give any importance to the family, what do you call, standards, all those things. He has a complete different sets of goals. That is why completely isolated from the parent. Whereas position relative is, it's maintaining some relationship with the parent. Because of that, that element, even though it's moved from the current position, that element inside the parent has some space. Now the last one is position absolute. Position absolute is both just like fixed and relative. What I mean is, uh, what I can say, he has some absolute goals. The child has some absolute goals, just like a position fixed. Okay, but he will provide some, what do you call, he will give some importance to the family standards. Got it? Some family standards. So see, I told you already, uh, position absolute, just like a fixed position fixed. Okay, and I want to make this to be 0 for the time being. Over the page. Now just like a fixed, it's fixed It starts from 0, 0 pixels. Of course, it is not fixed to the screen. Okay, it starts positioning from this point, just like if position fixed. Okay, and one important thing is what I'm going to do for the parent. I'm not changing these values for the parent. I'm giving something like position relative. See, it is allowed inside the parent. It's not going to move outside of the parent. If I use the same 0 pixels, it starts positioning from the parent. Okay. If parent is not maintaining any relationship, but grandparent is going to maintain some relationship with the child. Okay. So just I add a position related to the grandparent. Now you can see this guy is going to maintain relationship with this grandparent. To start positioning from the grandparent. In order to do this, I can do in a much better way. What I can do, I want some pixels of gap, 15 pixels for this, margin of 5 pixels. Okay, let us make this to be. Now you do find a much better space around the elements. Now you can see when I give, see, if you give position relative to the parent and position absolute for the child, now parent this child is going to be under the control of the parent. Now you can see that inside this parent element, the inner box. If you give position relative inside the grandparent, now that child is out of the control of the parent, but he has some control by the grandparent. It start position from the grandparent. If grandparent is also not maintaining the relationship, then it simply move to the society. That means I can say society is nothing but this white board. So it start position from this one. Correct? So this is what is called position absolute, position relative, and position fixed. Where does I use this position absolute and position relative? Okay, so let me show that one in a better manner. This is position property. The next important property for the layout is, where is that? Very, did I gone for inline elements, all those things? Yeah, I think we did that. Display inline అని చెప్పుకున్నాం. Layout, mouse layout properties. Okay, so we talked about the display inline. The next important thing, and this is the latest one, flux property. Okay, flux is used to lay out the components. Till now, you have seen all these float and position properties, and you do find some problems with this position and float properties. If you use float property, parents is collapsing. Again, you need to add a clear fixed class in order to clear that, or you have to use wow flow hidden. Okay, again, coming to the position property, it is very difficult to place every element pixel by pixels. Okay, it's not possible to position each and every element by using the position property. So all those problems can be solved by using this latest property called flux, display flux. Flux is combination of different types of properties. Okay,